Thank you very much for joining us tonight to talk about Register on Track for the Faculty of Architecture and Planning with the Bachelor of Community Design. So today we're going to cover lots of things, but first I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. So I know tonight there'll be people joining us from kind of all over the world, but right now myself and the other presenters in the webinar are joining from Mi'kma'ki, also known as Nova Scotia. And soon in the fall, you'll also be joining us here as well. So we're going to start with a land acknowledgement. Dalhousie University operates in the unceded territories of the Mi'kmaq, Wolastoqey, and Pesco-Tamagadi peoples. These sovereign nations hold inherent rights as the original peoples of these land, and we each carry collective obligations under the peace and friendship treaties. Section 35 of the Constitution Act 1982 recognizes and affirms Aboriginal and treaty rights in Canada. We also recognize that African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched this part of Mi'kma'ki, known as Nova Scotia, for over 400 years. And so hopefully as you're thinking of coming to Nova Scotia, you're learning more about Mi'kma'ki and everything that's happening here as well. And a quick introduction for me. So my name is Catherine. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a student success advisor at the Bissett Student Success Center. I also graduated from Dal with a Bachelor of Science. And just to kind of get to know me a little bit, I have a few pictures of me on the screen there. So in the top left is just a picture of me and my headshot. And then over to the right, we have my two cats. So at the top, that's Lola really basking in the sun. She's definitely the more dominant of our two cats. And then in the bottom right, we have Bambi. And clearly she's hiding under a chair. She's a little more shy. She's also the one up here in the corner sleeping. So she might actually come down at some point too. And then in the bottom left, we just have a picture of me gardening. We were saying right now, Nova Scotia is not. The weather is not great. It's kind of miserable. So this isn't what's happening right now. But this was me about this time last year trying to repot all of my plants to get them outside. One of my favorite things to do in the summer is to start growing things and getting outside a lot. So hopefully the weather gets a little better and I'll be able to actually grow something and be outside. And this is our agenda for the day. So we're going to start with introductions and kind of a welcome to Dalhousie. And then we're really going to get into finding courses, how to create your schedule, how to register for your courses, and key supports for your success with your time here at Dal. And so jumping right into those introductions, I just have a warm welcome from my team at the Bissett Student Success Center to you. Welcome to Dal! So I hope you can feel that like excitement and energy over the call. And you really feel that once you come to campus as well. We're all so excited to welcome you and to have you here on campus. Fall and September, there's so much energy and fun things going on, which we'll get to talk about as well. And then really welcome to Dal. And so it's so exciting that you've chose to come to Dal and you've chosen this program. And so some things to kind of think about and when you do meet with us and you meet with your advisor to talk about is what are you excited about? What kind of drew you to Dal and the East Coast, and what maybe challenges you're anticipating? How can you this summer work to address those or find those supports? And really, how do you plan to make the most out of your experience at Dal? There are so many different ways here to kind of make the most out of that experience, whether it's working with your school, volunteering, so many different things. And so what do you want to do with your time here at Dal? And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Johnny, a current student who's going to talk a little about what they've done with their time at Dal.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Johnny. I currently just graduated from the Bachelor's of Community Design, which is planning. I got my honors in urban design and planning. I actually didn't start in this program. I started out in commerce, but I took all my electives as planning courses. And then when I found out how amazing planning was, I switched into it, and thankfully I was on track and I graduated. Or actually, I haven't graduated yet. I still have one more month. I mean, I'm not taking any classes right now, but hopefully I can walk across the stage properly. We'll see though. So I've definitely done a lot of campus involvement, I was a member of the Society of Undergraduate Planners, which is basically the local faculty society here, which you help out with events. You get to plan a really cool end of year gala. You also help field students' questions and stuff like that. I'm a research assistant at the CART lab for the summer. That's actually what I'm doing full time right now, as a contract for the summer. And that's pretty cool. I'm actually in the lab right now. I work on a lot of stuff like travel surveys. I do a lot of simulation of data and data analysis and stuff like that. I was an undergraduate TA for an ArcGIS class, and I was also a student assistant at the Sexton Library. So I know a lot about the kind of resources you get, like the kind of journals and the kind of technological, non-technological resources that are given to you, which is pretty cool. I'm definitely a bit of a transportation nerd, so my favorite course is Plan 3100, which is transportation and land use, which is really cool. The advice I have for your incoming students, a lot of people worry about like finding their group of people when coming to university. I know I for sure was. Simple advice, just be yourself and you will find your people. You honestly just do the things you love. Don't try to be someone you're not, and you'll just find your people and it'll be great. Try a little bit of everything. Diversify your courses. For example, I took 2 Italian classes, which I do not regret at all. The professor was amazing, the content was amazing, and I learned about food in southern Italy for about 2 semesters. So you can take some pretty cool courses here. And also, lastly, find a balance that works for you. As you can see, I've done a lot of campus involvement, but you also have to make sure you schedule time for your homework. Time off is really important. Like, first years cooking for yourself, that's definitely really important. Don't go get McDonald's every day. Just try to find a balance week to week that works for you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Johnny, for that great advice, and good luck when you graduate in a month. I was definitely touching some wood over here for you. And I think you can see with Johnny's experience that he's been able to really explore so many different kind of avenues outside of the classroom. And so it really shows you kind of all the different things you can get involved in here at Dal. And now we're going to transition to the School of Planning. So I'll welcome the folks here on the call with me to talk a little about the School of Planning and welcome you to the program.
So I'll start. Oh, you going to introduce me, Catherine, or can I? Okay, it's Kate. Kate talking right now, Kate Thompson. I am the undergraduate academic advisor in the program. I also teach in the program. And I am joined today by Brenda Matheson, our amazing undergraduate secretary, or school secretary, actually. She she is the rock, the foundation for everything here that happens at the School of Planning, and she has an office. Actually the slide previous to that, the one we're looking at right now, had a picture of our building, the O'Brien Hall, which is at the corner of corner of Barrington and Morris Streets in downtown Halifax. So we're in a great spot. We occupy the top 3 floors of this building, and there's student spaces on the top floor, and we have amazing views of the city. So it's just a wonderful place to have a planning program. So yeah, Brenda and I hang out on the 6th floor, and I'm also joined tonight by Dottie McNeil, who is our student engagement manager. So she is with the faculty, but she also hangs out on the 6th floor with us as well. And she's going to speak a little bit later about all the how she can help you to have a better experience at Dal. But my expertise is more in the line of academic advising. So any questions that you might have about your course selection, about your programs, any issues you might be having, if you want to, share all the fun things you're doing, I'm usually there and available. So reach out to me. So next slide. I just wanted to cover, in case you didn't know, what undergraduate degrees we offer, and maybe so that you'll learn a little bit about the fact that we have accredited degrees. So they are recognized by the planning profession in Canada. So the Bachelor of Community Design, the BCD honors, the 4-year program. The honors degrees are recognized. So once you graduate and you spend a couple of years and write a couple of exams, you can become a member of the profession. And those can be also combined with a major in sustainability. So that's the degree that Johnny is in, the BCD honors in urban urban design and planning. We also have some non-accredited degrees, a BCD 3-year degree, and also a double major with sustainability. We have a lot of benefits to our program. I mean, one of those would be the fact that it is a professional stream that you can enter. Because we are a relatively small program, our classes are small, you get to meet your profs and it's really easy to get to know the other students. We have lots of hands-on things to do, like field visits. We also encourage a lot of teamwork because planning professionals work in teams. So we encourage that as students as well. Our focus for learning is on place-based learning, as makes sense for a planning program, and problem solving. So planners are really creative problem solvers. And we also encourage our students to engage in research. In fact, in the final year, you will be doing a research project on your own. And next slide. Yeah, so you saw the building earlier. These are some pictures of the student spaces in O'Brien Hall, and these are exclusively for the use of BCD students. So if you have your Dell card, only BCD students can obtain access to these spaces. So we have a beautiful lounge and study space overlooking the harbor, a studio space which is dedicated to our 4th-year students in the honors stream, and also a computer lab with all the software that you would need when you're in our program. And next slide. Johnny talked a little bit about some of these opportunities. He mentioned SUP, the Society of Undergraduate Planners. We encourage all our students to partake in those activities, social events, outreach activities. We also have conferences throughout the year that our students participate in. And there's lots of celebrations like World Town Planning Day, Earth Day, and of course, holiday celebrations. We have video competitions, design competitions. Some of those are in school. Some of them are actually outside the school, maybe offered by HRM or even beyond in Canada. You are encouraged as a planning student to join the Canadian Institute of Planners as a student member. There's free student memberships, and that allows you to have some scholarship opportunities. There's lots of research engagement for our students, as Johnny mentioned, with the several research units that are associated with the school. And also some of our faculty members offer internships and experience in research, and those can be paid. Yeah, and we also have in our capstone year, the 4th year, we have some workplace internships, which is a required part of our program. So you get some experience in a planning workplace during your program. And next slide. You may be wondering what planners do. I had this slide just to help you understand, because planning is such a broad field. And sometimes there's misunderstanding or maybe lack of understanding what planners do. And some of you who are intending to get into architecture, you might also be interested in hanging around maybe and continuing planning. So what do planners do? Planners are the people that help communities create healthy, equitable, and sustainable places to live. Planners do a lot of collaboration with other professionals like architects, engineers, public health people. And they work in different organizations, working for government, private organizations, and also not-for-profit organizations in many different fields. So we have urban planning, land use planning, transportation, environmental planning, climate change planning, sustainability planning. The list goes on. And there are many opportunities opening up in Canada for planners. And next slide. So for an example, there are over 8,500 professional planners in Canada, and some of the graduates from our program, our BCD alumni, are working in many different places. In Nova Scotia, we have a lot of people working in HRM and across the province, and also in other provinces as well. PEI, so there's a lot of people that move to other regions in the Maritimes, but also across the country. So we have people working in British Columbia and Alberta. And these are people that have the BCD degree. They do not have master's degrees, and they are working at very high levels, for example, as directors of planning across the country. So this truly is an entry into a profession. to come from the undergraduate program. And I think the last slide is just a little welcome to our community. I think you'll find us a very friendly place. And maybe, I think Dottie will speak about this a little bit later, and probably Johnny will attest to the fact that it's a great place to study, and you'll find lots of friendly faces. And please come to orientation. You'll get to know us a bit better there too.
You painted such a great picture of the program, and like the field trips and all of the different types of learning sound like a lot of fun and opportunities. So thank you very much. And now we're really going to jump into what you need to do to get ready for course registration. So all of the info that we're going to be going through today is going to be found on the website called dal.ca/registration. So everything we talk about today can be found at dal.ca/registration. And we're going to be going through those 4 steps you can see on this screen. And then afterwards, you can kind of use this to refer back to. So the first thing that we're going to start with is what to do before you begin. And so there are some things that would be good to do kind of now to get ready and really set up for registration day on June 7th. So some of those things are, one, if you haven't already, you have to pay a $200 admission deposit. So that would be the first thing to do. And you can do that at dal.ca/congratulations. Once you've done that, you want to activate your net ID and password. And I'll explain a little more about what a net ID is. But that kind of gives you access to all of the systems, including the one that you're going to need to register. You'll want to set up your Dalhousie email at dal.ca/email. It's likely over the summer that Dottie will send you some information about orientation. You'll be sent some information about the more general orientation. All of that will be sent to your DAL email. So it's really important that you start kind of checking that regularly throughout the summer. dal.ca/dates is where you can find any important dates for the upcoming year to start thinking about that. We have a new student checklist of just kind of things to do alongside registering. And then you want to check your your registration status on DAL Online, which I'll go through in a minute as well. So the first piece is a net ID. I kind of threw that out there, and your net ID, that's what you'll use to log into DAL Online. It's also going to be your email account. So your net ID is going to be the first 2 letters of your name minus the vowels, followed by 6 numbers. So for example, mine is CT, and then I have those 6 numbers. And that's also going to be your email. So for example, here we have ch123456 at dal.ca would then become your email address too. And so you can find your net ID by going to password.dal.ca and activating your net ID. Now, your net ID is going to be different from your student ID or your B0 number that you might hear as well, or your BOO number. Your student ID or your BOO number, that can be found on your acceptance letter. So it's typically like B00 or B01. And that's often something you'll give when you're going to go book an appointment with someone or access something on campus, whereas your net ID is really for you for accessing those online spaces. So with that, you have your net ID, and then you're going to use that to log into DAL Online to check your registration status. So by doing this, it's just double checking that on registration day, you will be good to go. So you'll log into DAL Online at dalonline.dal.ca, and you're going to click Web for Students just here. And then it'll bring you to a page that looks like this, and you'll just click Registration here. And then you'll go down and click Prepare for Registration down here. Once you've clicked that, it'll pull up something that looks like this, and you would again, it kind of wants you to double check, but you're going to click Prepare for Registration again. And then in the term, my screenshot isn't updated, but you would select 2025-2026 fall and press Continue. And it should look something like this. So you should have 3 green ticks when you press continue, and then you'll have one that says your time ticket does not allow registration at this point. So you want to get those 3 green ticks, which means you don't have any holds on your account and everything is good to go for when you're able to register. If this isn't what it looks like for you, it's important just to phone the registrar's office or contact them and just check in about what's going on. If you're starting in the fall semester, you only want to check the fall semester. If you're starting in the fall and you check your winter, it might look a little scary. That's just because you're starting in the fall. So you're kind of set up to go for the full semester while you'll see those green ticks. You'll be able to register for winter at the same time, but we want to see those green ticks for the fall semester. So that's what you really want to do kind of beforehand, before registration day. You'll also want to find your courses. So you're able now to find your courses and create your schedule before registration day on the Saturday. And so before we get too into finding courses, just a note for any transfer students in the audience. If you are coming with transfer credits, I'd encourage you to apply for your transfer credits now. That process can take some time, so it's good to get it started. And registration is open for transfer students now. So if that is you, I'd encourage you to reach out to Kate, to meet and discuss what courses would be best for you. You don't have to wait for your transfer credits to get approved before you can register. And so that's why it's good to have that conversation about what to take. But like, I'd encourage you, like new to DAL and orientation, all of that is available to everyone. So do engage with everything as well. For everyone else, we're going to look now at the course planning worksheet. So we're going to move to step 2, and we're going to go ahead and click the course planning worksheet just here. And that'll bring us to this page where you can see all of the different faculties. You're going to click your faculty and then the Bachelor of Community Design. And you'll get a page that looks kind of like this here. And so your course planning worksheet, it lists the required courses and suggested first year courses for you. It has a guide on how to build your schedule and then step-by-step of how to register for courses. It also has Kate's contact information if you have any questions, and a blank schedule for you to really plot out when everything's going on. And some just kind of key tips and tricks as well. So the course planning worksheet is really going to be your guide when you're thinking about what courses to take and what your schedule is going to look like. Now you'll notice on your worksheet, you do have space for an elective, and you do have some options there with which courses you might want to do. And so when you're thinking of that, some things to consider is what subjects interest you. So this might be a subject in high school you've loved. Maybe you've developed a passion for it outside of the classroom and you want to learn a bit more about it. Maybe it's something you've always been curious about but haven't quite had that opportunity to learn about it more. And so think about those types of courses that you might want to take. And then what type of learner are you? So are you looking for a course with a lab? Are you looking for a course that might have more like discussion, maybe one with a tutorial that's a bit more problem solving? And similarly, like, do you want your courses, what does the rest of your schedule look like? Do you want your courses in a row? Do you want them back to back? What do you want your day to look like? And how do you want to structure your day based on your courses? And then what other commitments might you need to factor into your day as well? So for example, maybe childcare or a part-time job that you have at the same time. And with that, you then want to think about course load and workload. So here at DAL, we use two terms. We use full-time and a full course load. So to be considered a full-time student, you need to be taking a minimum of 9 credit hours. So a typical course at DAL is 3 credit hours. So that would typically be 3 courses. Whereas a full course load is 15 credit hours. So that's typically 5 courses a semester. Now, you might need to be full-time for a few different reasons, such as if you're varsity, if you are living in residence, if you some sort of funding requirements, if you're here on a visa, all of those things might require you to be full-time. It might also require you to have a full course load. So I'd encourage you to kind of check out those types of conditions when you're thinking about what courses you want to take. And there's lots of different ways to complete your degree. So if you're not sure how many courses or what that's going to look like, feel free to reach out to your advisor and talk to them about that too. So once you've taken a look at the course planning worksheet, you've given some thought about what subjects you might want to do, what your options are, you'll go ahead and create a schedule based on those courses. And so when you're creating your schedule, just some questions to think about here is, what time of the day do I learn best? What time of the day do I study best? I want my classes back to back, or do I want kind of spaces in between? Have I made time for breaks? Do I have time for lunch and dinner? Do I want to take an online course? And if the course is online, do I have a quiet time and space to focus on that course? And then what other commitments do I have? So whether that's another job or volunteering, what other things have you got going on in your day? And with that, courses have a different amounts of requirements. So some courses will just be a lecture. And so this is professor-led. Often there's less interaction there, and it's usually the largest section of your course. So when you think about kind of a movie where you've seen someone at university and you see them walk into that big lecture hall and someone's at the front with the blackboard, that's really what a lecture is like. Whereas then you have a lab, so a laboratory, that you'll see that's lab. And that's like a smaller group of students from your lecture, and it's more hands-on learning. So it often kind of complements your lecture material. It's hands-on and typically run by a teaching assistant. And you then have a tutorial, which on the timetable is called TOOT. And again, that's a smaller group of your students, so a great opportunity to get to know your classmates. It's often discussion-based or problem-solving based on what you're learning in your lecture, and again, typically run by a teaching assistant. And so when you're registering, you want to make sure that if the course has a lecture, lab, and tutorial, you're registering for a lecture, lab, and tutorial. If your course has a lecture and a lab, you want to make sure you register for that lecture and the lab. Each course will offer slightly different. So some will be a lecture and a tutorial, some might just be a lecture, some might be all three. But you'll see that as you navigate the timetable, different courses having different requirements. Speaking of which, this is the academic timetable. So you can find this at dal.ca/timetable. And this is where you can find all of kind of the logistical information about the course. So when you look at your course planning worksheet, you see the course that you need to take, you can come to the academic timetable and then look up that course and see when it's being offered to really plan out your schedule for both semesters. So when you first go to the timetable, they want you to select a term, which here, just for an example, I've selected fall and winter. It's up to you if you want to look at the semesters at the same time, or if you want to look at them separately, you can always unselect one of these options. Under location here, I've selected Halifax, online, and other, just so you can see the most amount of courses available to you. And then in the subject, you can type in the subject that you're looking for right now. So for example, if I type in plan, so PLAN, it will bring me up with something that looks like this. And so there we have plan 1001 listed right at the top, just here. And so that gives us our the course code, so Plan 1001, as well as the title, Introduction to Planning, and that's where that information can be found. Next, you can see it's quite small, but you have this play button next to the course name. And when you click that play button, it's like a circle with a triangle in it. It's going to bring you to a description of the course. So you're able to see a little more information about the course. What's it going to be like? What are you expected to learn? Things like that. And then over to the right, we have when this course is being offered. So you can see here, this particular course is offered in the fall semester. So you always want to make sure if you're looking at fall and winter that you double check what semester it's being offered in over to the right. And then we have here under section, we have circled a lec. So that top sandy colored row is a lecture. So you can see there it says lex, that's your lecture. Underneath that, in that kind of blue color, we have TOOT. So that stands for tutorial. And so those are your tutorial options. And then at the bottom, I just have a screenshot from a different course that has a lab. So it's in that like mint green color, and it'll just say lab in that section instead of lecture or tutorial. And so what you can see under the course name, so under Plan 1001, you see you have a lecture and a tutorial. So you want to make sure that you are registering for the lecture and the tutorial of this course because that's what's being offered. And then next we have the CRN. And so when you do want to pick one lecture and one tutorial section, you're going to use that by collecting the CRN. So that is the course reference number. So each part of a course has a unique 5-digit number that kind of refers to that particular section. So we have there circled your course, your CRN. There we have credit hours. So before when we spoke about how a typical course is 3 credit hours, we see here that the 3 credit hours is there. Some courses you'll see is 6, and so that's kind of taking up 2 slots, if you will, out of the possible 5. And so for example, SUST 1000 is 6 credit hours, so taking up those 2 slots. And then we have days. So this particular course is offered on Fridays. And so one thing to note, if a course is offered on a Thursday, just in this column, you'll see an R. So instead of a T, which you might expect, it'll be an R in that column, which will stand for Thursday. Next is the time. So this particular lecture is offered on Fridays from 9:30 to 12:30. And then we have the location. So this tutorial is offered in Sexton in the Murray G building. So the room number is G214. And then over here, we have the enrollment information. So the first column here is max. So that is the maximum number of seats in the course. The second column is current. So the current number of people registered in the course. Then we have available. So the number of seats available. We then have waitlist, so the number of people on the waitlist right now, and then we have the percentage the course is full. And then over to the far right, we have the instructor. So this particular course is taught by Thomas. And so if you clicked on that, it will bring you to their full name and their contact information if you had any questions about the course. So this is a course that if you'll have to take. And so what you'll do is you'll go here and you'll select a CRN for your lecture, which in this case, there's just one. And then you're going to pick which tutorial option you want to take. So you have 3 options. So you're going to pick the one that you'd like to do. And then you're going to also record the CRN for that particular section. So for example, if you wanted your tutorials on Friday at 1:30, you would then write down the CRN 12617. And then here I have a different screenshot of an English course just to highlight the notes section there. So the planning course didn't have a note section, but some courses will have a note. And so it's really important that you pay attention to what the note says, because they often have some really useful information in there about what section to register in, maybe other requirements, contact information. So if you do see a note, please take the time to read it because it can be quite helpful. Now, imagine if we went ahead and pressed that play button, and we're going to look at some descriptions just to see what you can expect in those descriptions. So I have 2 descriptions here. On the left, I have the Journalism 1003 course. And so what I want to highlight with this description is the prerequisite at the bottom. So if you clicked on this course, you looked at the description, you can see here the name of the course, the number of credit hours, you get a description of the course of what to expect, and then they have a note here at the bottom and prerequisites. So a prerequisite, this is a course that you have to take before being able to take this course. So for example, if you wanted to take Journalism 1003, you would have to take Journalism 1002 first. So it's important that you do check those descriptions and make sure you can take that course. Now over to the right, I want to highlight the other description. So we have one for SUST 1400, Exploring Sustainability. And we're just going to look here at the bottom where it says exclusions. So what an exclusion is that you can't, this course, so SUST 1400, is too similar to SUST 1000 for you to be able to get credit for both Sustainability 1400 and Sustainability 1000. So you'd only get credit for one. So it's really important that you're checking to make sure you read the description. You're not taking a course that's an exclusion with a course you've already taken, for example, because only one of those courses would count towards your degree. And then finally, we have a description for this religious studies course. And so again, we have the code and the title, some information about the course, and then at the bottom, we have some information about the cross-listing. So a cross-listing is a course that is shared with another department. So in this case, Religious Studies 2120, that's shared with the History, the Early Modern Studies, and History of Science and Technology department. So this course is exactly the same as History 2990, Early Modern Studies 2360, and then History of Science and Technology 2120. And so what that means is if you are trying to register for this religious studies course and it's full, you can go ahead and check out and see if you can register for any of these options at the bottom, because they're all exactly the same course, same room, same course, same professor. It's just a different course code on the timetable. That's really the only difference there. The other thing you'll see when you're looking at the timetable is online courses. So we do offer some online courses, and there are kind of three types that you'll see. So the first one being synchronous. So this is a course that requires you to join the class online at a specific day and time every week. And those times are in Atlantic Daylight Time. Now, asynchronous is that the course does not require you to be online at a specific day or time. So it's likely the material will be posted and it will be your responsibility to learn and make the time for that material. And then sometimes you'll find a combination. So courses that will be delivered using synchronous and asynchronous methods. And so they might require you to be online some of the time, but they might not require you to be online all of the time. Or there might be certain lectures that have to be online, or it might be a tutorial that's synchronous, whereas the course is asynchronous. So that's why under that location column, it's important to see if it is online, what that means. And so again, I just have some examples here. So that top one is SUST 1400, and you can see here we have online asynchronous. So this course is going to be asynchronous, which means there's no set time for you to be online. Whereas SUST 1000, that bottom lecture option is online and synchronous. So they would like you to be online for class on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11:30 to 1, and then again on Thursdays from 7 till 9. And so that's synchronous. So that's when you're expected to be online. So it's always good when you're checking the timetable to just check the location and make sure if it is online, what that really means. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to use the timetable and the course planning worksheet to pick your courses, the course planning worksheet to pick your courses, the timetable to see when they're offered, and then at the back of that course planning worksheet, you're going to see a blank fillable schedule. So you can fill this out online, you can print it, whatever works for you, but this can help map out when exactly your courses are going to be and can give you a really complete picture of, do you have breaks? Are things overlapping? What does this look like for you? And then at the bottom of the sheet, there's an area where you can record the CRNs. So that means on registration day, you have the CRNs, you know what your schedule is going to look like, you're ready to go. It's just a matter of plugging in those CRNs and then you're good to go. It makes for a way less stressful registration day. And when you're doing all of this work and you're going through the worksheet and you're looking at the timetable, don't forget about winter. So it's really important you register for fall and winter on June 7th. So go to the next page and do it all over again for winter. And just from those screenshots, you'll see that some of the courses are have got students in. And so current students have been able to register for courses in March. And so sometimes a course can fill up either on or before registration day, or they might have some people in there now. So when you're selecting courses and planning your schedule, it's good to find alternatives that will work with your schedule in case that top choice is full on June 7th. So just kind of bear that in mind as you're planning things out. So we've kind of gone through what you need to do to prepare with the deposit and setting up your net ID. We've then talked about the course planning worksheet and how to find out what courses what are required and what is suggested for this upcoming year, and then really how to use the timetable and create that schedule based on your needs. And so before June 7th, you should have activated your net ID and created your password. You should have checked your registration status on Dell Online. You should have a schedule for fall and winter that works for you using the academic timetable. And you should have recorded all of those course reference numbers that you're going to enter on registration day. And so on June 7th, you've got all of that ready to go. And so you're going to log into Dell Online again. You're going to click Web for Students again. You're going to click Registration again, but this time you're going to click Register for Classes. Again, you're going to need to click Register for Classes again, and then you can select the fall semester, so 2025-2026 fall, and press Continue. Your screen, this is just a snippet of what your screen will look like, but in the top left, you'll see a screen that looks a little like this. The first thing that you'll do is you'll go up here and press Enter CRN. The Find Class function feels like it's going to be really useful, but I would really encourage you to use the CRN. The timetable is kind of the most accurate way to see all of your courses, and you've spent all that effort collecting those CRNs, so click the Enter CRN, and then you're able to plug all of those in. So when you click that, you'll get a box here, and you're able to type in your first CRN. You can then click Add Another. So I'd encourage you, if this has a tutorial or a lab, to click Add Another, or you can add them all at the same time, whatever feels best. Once you've done that, you can click Add to Summary. Your courses will then kind of appear in the bottom right corner, and it'll look something like this. So right now, if you typed in all your CRNs, you've pressed Add to Summary. In the right corner under Summary, it'll look like this for you. And so all of your courses will say Pending in that kind of gray shaded box on the left. And so before you close this, you then have to go to the bottom corner and press Submit. And so you'll press Submit, and a good way to check to make sure you've registered is that your total hours under registered, it should then say however many credit hours you've chosen to do for that semester. So if you press Submit, hopefully what happens is you get your status goes from pending to registered, it's green, it's beautiful, and it's done. What might happen is you might get something like this red thing at the bottom that says there's an error preventing registration. And so these things happen, and we're going to talk a little about what those errors might mean and what you can do to work with that error or hopefully avoid it. So if you did get an error, I have just some examples of what an error could mean. So that top one here is saying that Psych 1030, the available seats are held for waitlisted and the waitlist is full. So that means that it looks like there are seats available in the class, but as there's a waitlist and the waitlist is full, you'll have to wait until space opens up on the waitlist. The next one is saying the section is full. There's 18 people on the waitlist, and you want to select waitlisted and hit submit to add yourself to the waitlist. So this particular course is full. You have to add yourself to the waitlist, but there is space on the waitlist to do that. And then this final one is missing required course or grade, review course description for prerequisite. And so this is where you've registered for a course and you don't have the prerequisite or the course needed to be able to take this course. And so that's why you would go back to the timetable and you'd look at the play button and just make sure you have the prerequisites. If you think you do still have the prerequisites, then you can reach out to the registrar's office and just see what's going on there. Now, if you get an error that's like, join the waitlist, this is how you join the waitlist. So on that summary section again, your status will change to errors preventing registration. And under action, you'd click the drop down menu here. You're going to click waitlisted here, and then you'll press submit. That will then turn green and it'll say waitlisted. And so if you get permission to register in the class, you will get a message on your prepare to registration page. So the same page you checked your registration status on. And it's your responsibility to keep checking that page. So you want to check that page. If you do get permission to register in the class, you'll have 3 days to join the class, and then you'll be removed from the waitlist. And so if you got permission, that's wonderful. You would go back here, you'd click under action, and then you would click web registered, and then go ahead and click submit, and then you would join the class, which is fantastic. So what do you do if a course is full or you do have to go on the wait list? So sometimes courses do fill up. So that's why it's important to have a backup in mind. I would say if it's an elective or a course that you had some options for, then do keep that backup in mind. And the backup might be there are 3 lecture sections. And so you've got your top lecture section, and then you've got a backup lecture section, for example, or a backup tutorial option. It might also be that it's an elective and that particular elective is full, but you have a whole other elective that you could take as well. You also want to keep checking the timetable. The academic timetable, it does change over the summer as people add and drop courses, so space might become available later. Waitlists do exist, so if there is the option to join the waitlist, I'd encourage you to join the waitlist and hopefully get a spot if one becomes available. And then you will complete your degree over multiple years. So if it's a course or an elective that doesn't quite work out this year, then keep it in your back pocket and maybe it's something you can take in a later year. Now, if the course you're trying to get into is full and it is a required course, I'd encourage you to connect with Kate to talk more about what that means and what your options are there. This is more for those courses that you might have some options for. And so if you do end up joining a waitlist, I'd encourage you to register in a backup course just in case you don't get off the waitlist. And so once you've done that, you've registered in the number of credit hours you'd like to register for in that semester, you're going to go ahead and check your schedule. And so this is why it's really great if you filled out that PDF, the blank schedule, because if you look to the bottom left, you'll be able to see the schedule you've created based on the CRNs. And so you can compare that to the schedule you've created before registration day and make sure everything looks the same. Now, one thing that often trips people up is the system allows you to register in courses that are at the same time. So if a lecture and another lecture happen at the same time, the system does allow you to register in both. So that's why it's really important that you check your schedule that would be in the bottom left of your screen to make sure there's nothing conflicting. So you can see here this schedule, that is a conflict. So we have differential and integral calc 1, and that's conflicting with German for beginners here. And so you see they're at the same time, and this German for beginners doesn't have that same green tick. So that's a way that you'd go back to the timetable and see, do one of these have a different option so that you can move something around. But it's always really good to check the schedule and make sure you don't have any conflicts. And then if you did have a conflict, double check the schedule, double check your schedule, check the timetable, and see if something can be moved. So with all of that, that is really the steps on how to register. And so you'll have done all of that for fall, and then you will go ahead and do exactly the same thing for winter. So again, it's really important that you register for fall and winter on June 7th. And just a note, when you're trying to keep track of both, the fall CRNs start with a 1 and the winter CRNs start with a 2. So a good way to distinguish between them. And now if you did need more support or you wanted to learn more about this process or had questions, there is the Dal Online Help Center as well. So when you're on that page, the registration page and information, you'll see this help. And so if you click that, they'll have lots of really great short videos on how to do a lot of the things that we've discussed today. They are available now, so if you wanted to watch them and just get a bit more prepared, you're welcome to do that too. But that is, that kind of sums up the registration process and how to prepare before registration day, and then what registration day on June 7th is going to look like for you. And we're going to make a little bit of a switch and talk about supports for success. So before I jump into this, I should have said at the start, but up until now, you've got a lot of information. This is also going to be a lot of information too. And so this presentation is being recorded, and you'll get a copy of the recording and the slides emailed to you as well, to you, the email you signed up with. So don't feel like you have to kind of write everything down. You will get access to this later. Now we're going to go over some key supports available to you and to really help make the most of your experience at DAO. The biggest takeaway from this, and hopefully from the call in general, is that there are lots of people on the call and at DAO here and excited and ready to help you. So if you do feel like you need some more support, or if you're looking for a little extra help in something, reach out to someone and ask. We might not always be the right person, but we often know who the right person is. So if you're not sure where to go, reach out to someone and just ask. The first resource I wanted to share is financial services. So they can help. They're a branch of the registrar's office, and they can help with scholarship and bursary funding, student loan funding, creating a budget for university expenses. They can help with kind of emergency bursaries or temporary loans, and they can connect you with on and off-campus community services to assist with any financial issues you're running into. And so if you're not sure if you got a scholarship or you're funding and you're not sure how many courses you need to take, this would be a good team to reach out to. And then, as I said, they're part of the registrar's office. So the registrar's office is a big office, and they help with lots of different things. So I have their website and their contact information, and they help with admissions and registration support. So they're likely the ones you've spoken to a lot already. They help with transfer credits, the awards, scholarships, and financial aid team is there. They also provide the confirmation of enrollment. I like to tell students that anything that you see on DAL Online is likely something the registrar's office can help with. So if you have a question about something you see on DAL Online, start with the registrar's office. Next, we have the Information Technology Services Help Desk, so ITS. And so ITS can help with any of your technology needs during your time at DAO. They can help get you set up with your DAO software and the Wi-Fi. They can help you set up with your Net ID, your multi-factor authentication, your email, your account, all of that stuff. So if you need help with anything kind of technologically related, the ITS desk is here to help you. And they are on the Sexton campus as well as online. Next, we have academic advising. So you've met Kate already, and we just have her contact information here. But some of the things that Kate can help with is making that successful transition from university to university life at DAO, to understanding your program requirements and academic regulations, help with choosing your courses and mapping out strategies to achieve your educational and career goals. And then also help develop action plans if you do run into kind of academic difficulties or other difficulties while you're here at DAO. Next, we have the Student Accessibility Center. So the Accessibility Center helps support students who might face barriers to the classroom, to exams, or other spaces on campus and their learning. And so they offer one-on-one advising appointments to help facilitate accommodations and access to academic courses and programs, facility services, and activities. They can also advocate on behalf of you and alongside of you to support your transition into your program and throughout your time at DAO. They can assist you in accessing disability-related funding and connect students to on and off-campus resources. So For example, if you're coming from high school and you had like an IEP or a learning plan, the kind of Student Accessibility Center would be the support for you to set up accommodations. I will say if this is something you had in high school and you want to continue, or something that you think you might want to explore that you know you'll need, I really encourage you to reach out and book an appointment with them now. So the sooner that you get it set up, the better. It'll be good to go in September. They have an orientation in September where you can learn a little more. But I would encourage you, if it's something you're thinking about or know you need, to reach out to them and book that now. And if it's something you're like, ooh, I might need that, I'm not sure, still reach out to them and have a conversation about what types of things they can help you with. Next, we have career services. So again, we have their website and contact information, and they can help with job search and like application stuff. They can review a resume and cover letter. They can help determine what you might want to do with your degree, where you want to go next. They offer a range of workshops on different things such as resume building and networking. They host 2 career fairs during the year where you have an opportunity to meet employers. And they also have career counseling where you're able to explore what kind of career would be best fit for you. And then we have professors. So you'll have instructors for all of your courses, and so they can be really helpful when you have questions about a course, something you've learned in class. You might want to know more about an assignment or help with something. And so their contact information can be found in the syllabus. So each course will have a syllabus, which is kind of like a contract between you and your instructor about what to expect in that course. And so their contact information will be in there. And they're a great resource. They also, if you want to learn more about their research or opportunities to get involved, they often host office hours where you can pop along and have those conversations. Sounds like Bambi is waking up a little over here. And then we have studying for success. And so studying for success can help with study skills. So they have one-on-one appointments with study skills coaches. And so it might be that you're developing your study skills, whether you're coming right from high school, you've taken a gap. Everyone can always help with that development of their study skills. They also can help understand your learning style, and they offer a range of workshops on just about anything from managing your time to goal planning to how to take a multiple choice exam. And they also have tutors that support specific courses or exam prep. And then similarly, we have the Writing Center. So they support all students at all levels and all fields of study with anything that you write. And so they offer one-on-one appointments to discuss written work, and that includes assignments, dissertations, they even help with presentations. And they can provide feedback at any stage of the writing process. So whether that's you have this question and you want some help trying to figure out how to tackle it and answer it, all the way to you've written this essay and you just want someone to review it with you. They're a great resource to use while you're here at Dow. Next, we have the Black Student Advising Center. Again, we have their contact information. And this center is a cultural hub of support, programs, events, and resources for students of African descent attending Dow or King's. And they're actually on campus, so that blue building is their center on 1321 Edward Street. And so they offer a range of things, including free tutoring in biology, math, chemistry, and writing support. They also can help advocate with you and navigate campus and find resources and supports based on your needs. And they also can support you with finding funding and funding resources on campus. Next, we have the Indigenous Student Center, and this is a space for Indigenous students to gather, to meet other students, to connect with the Indigenous student advisors, and have access to supports and services. So they offer free writing support, bio, math, and chemistry tutoring. They also have various folks drop into their center and host office hours there, such as the Accessibility Center, Health and Wellness, Career and Academic Advising, library support, as well as some others. They host a variety of cultural events, both at the center and on campus, including Friday feasts and movie nights. And then they have educational and informational sessions, networking opportunities, and can refer you to resources both on and off campus. and then again, provide information on scholarship and bursaries. Next, we have student health and wellness. So again, we have the contact information, and these are like your family doctors while you're here on campus. So you can get medical appointments with doctors and nurses here. We have same-day counseling, and we have a social worker you can speak to about kind of their stress. You also can get your flu shots, your prescriptions, medical testing here as well too. We then have our 2S LGBTQ plus advisor. So that's Olivia Fader, pronouns she, her, and that bottom on the left there, that was her last year at Pride. And so our 2S LGBTQ plus advisor can help with accessing and referrals to gender affirming care, seeking name or gender marker changes at DAL or provincially, resource navigation, advocacy matters related to identity or gender expression, talking about your experience, including any barriers you might face, and then advancing access and equity of 2S LGBTQ plus students at Dalhousie and King's. We then have the International Center, and so they can help if you're interested in exchange or study abroad opportunities. They can help with assistance in student immigration, visas, filing Canadian taxes, access to different English as a second language or additional language supports, and they can help connect you with the international community both on and off campus. We then have the Melda Murray Student Center. So this is on Sexton campus, and it's really kind of the hub on Sexton campus. So lots of the resources that I've highlighted during this session often come and offer office hours out of the Melda Murray Student Center, including accessibility, the Writing Center, the International Center, Studying for Success, Black Student Advising, the 2S LGBTQ plus advisor, and they also offer same-day counseling. It's also a great study space too. We then have the bookstore. So once you've registered for your courses, you then can use the bookstore. They have a list of books that are required for each course and how to buy them. You also can buy like dorm and living essentials, pick up your school supplies, and some fun DAL gear. And then finally, we have the DALU app. So if you're looking to get connected with your peers, students coming, you can get the DALU app at the App Store or Google Play. They have announcements and kind of different information shared through the app, and it can access your course information and just really get to know your classmates. And so that was kind of all of the resources, and I just want to bring it back to registration again. So registration opens Saturday, June 7th at 12 p.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. And so you do want to make sure that deposit is paid before you register. And note that can take up to 48 hours to process. So if you can and you haven't already, you want to pay that now. You'll also need to activate your Net ID and create the password before registering, because that's what's going to give you access to DAL Online. And if you do run into any issues on the day on Saturday, the registrar's office is open for any registration errors. They're open from 12 to 4 p.m. on Saturday, June 7th by phone and by chat. So I have that information there, and you can connect with them on Saturday if you run into any issues. Again, I really want to emphasize the registrar's office. They're here to answer their questions and troubleshoot really registration errors that you come into. So this is their contact information at the top, and then their hours of operation underneath that. And then the registrar's office encompasses lots of other offices, including admissions, awards and financial aid, transfer credits. So any of those folks can be found through the registrar's office as well. So next steps, we'd encourage you to check out the dal.ca/new students. On this page, you can find a kind of a checklist of things that you need to do to get prepared. There's some helpful tips, orientation and new to DAL information, and then some friends and family information as well. And so that's really the end of my presentation, and we're going to turn it over in a minute to questions. There's going to be a link shared in the chat, and so I'd ask if possible if you could complete the link. We want to know how we did, and this will be emailed to you as well. And then we're going to jump into questions. So we have a Q&A feature. And so at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there should be a Q&A button that looks like this. And if you click that, a question and answer box will pop up, and then you're able to type your questions into that text box and click send. If you don't want your name associated with the question, that's totally fair. You can send it anonymously. And to do that, you would just click send anonymously before you send it. Your questions will go to myself and the other panelists, and then we'll answer that live or by text, depending on your question. So as those start to trickle in, I'm going to turn it over to Dottie, who's going to share a bit more about New to Dal and what to expect.
Hi, everybody. We're very excited to welcome you to campus for September. Just a couple of, I know it's been a lot of information tonight, but just a few things that we wanted to point out. One is we'd really encourage you to participate in orientation. And for those of you, like there are some pretty rowdy, fun, really upbeat events for sure, but there are also some other going to be some lower key events that are going to be taking place. So if the party events aren't necessarily your thing, there's a lot of variety. There are going to be some care hubs on campus too, just so that, for things like wayfinding, because we know it's a big campus. Hopefully if you've taken a tour, you have a little bit of a sense. If you haven't, there's going to be lots of people around that can help you navigate. But just a really good chance to, as Johnny said, sort of find your people and start to get grounded, even before classes start. And there's also going to be special events this year for students who are living off campus, just to help you feel that sense of connection as well. And the last couple of things, the School of Planning and the Society of Undergrad Planning Student Association plan a lot of events throughout the year. And I think just, it's really important in your first year, if you can, just show up, because you'd be amazed how many people you're going to get a chance to meet, and it'll help you build that sense of connection, which is so important to being really successful in your first year. And as Catherine had mentioned, there are so many great resources, and I can honestly say in the School of Planning, and the faculty, everybody really wants to help. We're all here to help you be successful. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And as Catherine mentioned, it doesn't matter who you reach out to. One of us, we're going to help you find the resources and the services that you need. So don't be shy about that. If, and there are no stupid questions. If anything comes up, just please reach out, even over the next few months. If you're not sure about anything, reach out. We'll help you navigate things, but especially once you get to campus, we all know that it can be very overwhelming at first, and we're really all here to make sure that you have a really fun and great year. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, what a lovely welcome and words of encouragement. I'm going to stop sharing. And we'll give it a few more minutes, but if folks don't have any questions, we'll give it some time to let some things trickle in. And if not, that will be the end. I'm going to drop that survey link in the chat too.
I could probably answer that question just speaking.
Yes.
So I will talk about the courses in the School of Planning. And one thing I wanted you to know in relation to this question is that if you have, if you're in first year, going into first year, your first year courses, you have a seat guaranteed in those classes. So you do not have to worry about those filling up. Even if for some reason they do fill up, you will have a spot in those courses. Generally, they don't. We have ample room for that. For other courses, Johnny might be able to answer this question better than me. So this would be like, for example, like SUS 1000, Johnny, or, some of the more popular elective courses. So what is your take on how quickly they fill up from your experience in registering?
Can you hear me? First off, just making sure my mic is still working.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
It definitely depends on the program, and honestly, it's unless you're paying attention to it years and beforehand on historically how fast classes fill up. I think the best practice is just to go as soon as possible. My thing was always the day of, as soon as my time slot open, I was on it and I was getting every single class. But yeah, electives you definitely have to be more wary about compared to your core stuff because you're always going to get that. Especially within planning, it'd be easy just to talk to you. I guess it'd be you, the advisor, to see, oh, I'm not in this class. I need to be in this class. But if it's in another faculty, that's a bit harder. So especially in SUST 1000, I would definitely think try to register as early as possible.
Yeah, I actually don't think SUS 1000 fills up like right away. So
Mm.
usually I've noticed there's a bit of room in that course, but yeah, those classes are much bigger but they're also open to a lot more students.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another question here. I am a first year student and I'm hoping to become an architect. Do you have any suggestions for my first year courses? So my advice for students that want to go into BEDS, the Bachelor of Environmental Design Study. So that's after 2 years. What you would do, and my advice is to stick with the program for planning. So you would take all the required courses for planning. But I would also advise, and those are on the guide that Catherine talked about, the one that was linked to one of the web pages. I will also be distributing a course selection guide. Some of you might have already seen it. So it's all the courses for your whole program if you decide to stay in planning. So choose the courses that you need for planning for Bachelor of Community Design, but then reach out to, and I think, how do I put this in so everybody can see it? Be answer live, or I guess type answer and everybody will see it. Okay, so there's a person who is the advisor for architecture, Susanna Morash Kent, and she is a person to talk to about making sure that you select courses in those first 2 years to make sure you're eligible to apply. And she can also talk to you about the actual application process. So she'd be the person to reach out to. Because I can't provide much help when it comes to architecture. I'm the planning person. So her email, I'm just putting it up here, is susanna.morash@dal.ca. And I guess that's probably showing up. Yeah.
And one thing that I'll add to Kate's comment as well is a really important piece of your application for architecture is your portfolio. So I would say as well, build, whether you're passionate about, writing, whether it's drawing, whether it's sculpting, really focus on those couple of years while you're doing your studies. Also supplement with some of the creative side of things as well. You can also take the Intro to Architecture course too, where you'll be doing a lot of hands-on things that will help you start to build your portfolio. But even anything you've done from high school, to start, collecting that information and figure out, how creatively you can put it together. And again, Susanna can give you some tips on that and can connect you with a current student in architecture once you get, into your second year and you're getting ready to submit your application. But just good to start thinking about that now and start building it up over the next couple of years.
And someone's commented that Susanna is great. Yeah,
Susanna is
which is
also
lovely.
very passionate. Yeah.
I just wanted to offer something else. It's about because I get a few questions every year about this. When you register in your first semester and you're taking SUST 1000, that is one of those 6 credit hour courses, as you mentioned, Catherine. So just another reminder, if you take that course, you'll only be registering for 4 courses, right? With your other, so 6 credit hours for SUST and then 3 credit hour courses. That makes up your 15 credit hours. So it's only 4 courses, but it's a 15 credit hours. And another thing to keep in mind is that if you take 15 credit hours every semester, you'll be staying on track to graduate on time. So if you don't take the full course load every semester, you will have to make up those courses somewhere. And that's fine, but you just need to be aware of that. You could take courses perhaps in the summer, or you might actually want to extend your degree by another year. But if you want to kind of stick with the program and finish in 4 years, then you would take 15 credit hours each semester, fall, winter. It seems obvious, but sometimes when you're looking at your schedule, it doesn't seem so obvious.
No, the 6 credit hour ones can be quite confusing. Yeah.
Because you might not notice that, right? It's not like blaring out at you. You just see the little number down there, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I don't know if there are no more questions have come in. So that this is your final shout, but if not, we will call it a night. So thank you everyone so much for joining us. Hopefully this has made sense and you're feeling more confident to register on June 7th. And if not, you can always reach out to Kate and get some help with that course planning too. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a good night.
Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.